before I forget. All right, that is 2 minutes past, so I guess anyone else that can come in late. For anyone that is unfamiliar with how TeamSpeak works, because I saw some people talking about that, if you go into the Self tab, hover over Sound Pack, and click Sounds Deactivated, that could be a good way to maintain your sanity and not have a constant stream of user has joined your channel. As for general meeting etiquette, generally, if no one is speaking, if I've just read out a topic and you want to throw your hat in the ring and say something, then go ahead. If someone else is already speaking, though, put a Q in the chat like this. Uppercase, lowercase, don't really care. And I'll try and keep track of it and not fall behind, preferably. Anyway, our first topic is basically just a question to the staff. I don't know if RA Billy or FL Tommy is here and would like to present their question, but even if not, it's a pretty simple one. So, Solus, can we get an update on where priority queue is at and maybe a time frame?
I say probably not a time frame. Looking at what the team has faced trying to get it implemented or what the next step would be, it's a short answer. So the topic might better be used for maybe people talking about their benefits they would see in it or what they've seen with the password being implemented as well. But ultimately, the priority queue as it's been written was donated by a member of the community. It seems to run properly, but what we need to do at this point is repack it into the Doug mod and ensure that that code itself operates server side. As of yet, there is basically Ammo, Desync, Mr. Blue. There's a few legacy members of the staff team that do need to take part in that and have not had time. We're having trouble communicating about the goal there between ourselves, so there is no time frame at the moment, but it is absolutely something we're pushing each other for on the team and taking seriously.
I think that sums it up. I'm actually taking notes this time, surprisingly, so I plan on making like a write-up, doing a bit more than just doing the usual hello, here's the video, now go away, I'll see you next time. I feel like that pretty concisely answers that, so I think we can just move on to the next. Actually, we should probably try and shoot for topics with people that are here right now. I'm seeing another topic from the same person that's not here yet, but they might show up later. Our first, next topic is from British Paul. I don't know if British Paul is here currently. If not, I don't know if Greenie is here or Big Dave. And Matt is not here, so we might just be flying through.
Definitely a smaller meeting at times before we've had like 70 users in here.
Yeah. Did make me think, oh, maybe I should wait for a few more people. Ooh. Wait. Yes, Big Dave is here. Okay, we can start with your topic, since you're actually here.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. So I've noticed quite a bit of breakdown in the ability to either transmit or receive VoIP in the game, and I just kind of wanted to gauge other people's experiences of that, because it seems kind of like a recent thing. It wasn't happening like earlier in the year. And it kind of sucks sometimes when you keep having to ask people to repeat themselves, or maybe it changes the outcome of some encounters because people can't understand you, and that kind of sucks as well. And I guess if it is like a performance thing for the server, I guess is there anything that could be looked into kind of alleviate that? I don't know. That was where my query was, I guess.
I have definitely heard people talking about VoIP issues, and while I will admit I have not been playing that much of late, when I have been on, I've definitely noticed some, not even just limited to the VoIP side of things, but including VoIP as well, just general jank ever since the player numbers were raised. But
yeah, I did wonder if it was a result of that or maybe just the recent patch being a bit shitty in general.
That's also possible. This is DayZ we're talking about. I do think at the last community meeting there was this was brought up performance concerns with the, because this was quite hot off the heels of the player cap being raised. So I feel like it's probably, the crux of it is probably that, but obviously the server is doing quite well, and the ability to have an extra 10 people in the server means 10 less people sitting in the queue wishing they were playing Doug. At least that is what I remember of the stance of the staff team at that time. But I mean, I imagine, of course, they also want to mitigate those issues where possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, not to say that. I would say that because of it, some of the quality of the encounters and conversations has deteriorated. I think, in my view. But there's also been times where there's been like at the coalition market, loads of people. I didn't have any problems then, so I don't know. Like, yeah.
I can't claim to be an expert on DayZ, but I feel like if there's multiple people, like lots of people in one area, maybe that's somehow less stress on the server because it's not having to have as many places loaded in, as many zombies in different towns, as many other entities all spawning and looting, things like that. So maybe a cluster of players actually somehow helps it, but I do not claim to be an expert on this whole DayZ server thing.
Okay. I guess it doesn't seem like anyone else would like to agree or disagree with it.
Solus, go ahead.
It's absolutely something I've observed, but pointing out that it didn't occur and sometimes you'd expect it, like the market for the coalition, is actually very important. I think it's tied to players kind of moving around between these bubbles of communities when it's happening. Honestly, the only real answer going forward, and what I'm hoping for, is with the drop of 1.28, that we get an idea of if the backend is going to run any better while we still have the server as it is before it's been wiped, including every abandoned base, everything where it's at a 90 population, zombies everywhere. And if we can determine if it has related to our 90 player count or the increased what we're trying to pull from the server, then we'll have a realistic discussion and different community members will step up and we will probably talk about lowering the pop back down from 90 to 85 or 80. So ultimately, we just do want to see if it's a performance issue between the patches, and then that would be the first step that staff could take is the player count.
Okay. That sounds positive. So try it out with the next patch. If it's still a problem, maybe try it with a reduced player cap and just a bit of experimentation, I guess.
I got that noted down as well, so that can go in the summary. Right. Anything else anyone has to say on this topic? Because I think that response from Solus was pretty damn good. And probably quite neatly tied this up in a nice little bow. Though I think we could jump onto another topic. Again, has anyone else that suggested a topic showed up, being R.A. Billy, British Paul, Greeny, or Matt? Well, Matt's not here because he'd be right at the top. Okay, if we don't have anyone that's here to present their topics, then we can just go through them in order. So, first one is from British Paul. With server popularity this obviously brings in more hackers and people without any intention of contributing to the server and just want to fuck with role players. So, can we discuss some kind of light entry requirement to weed out a lot of those? My suggestion would be that the server. Okay, well, yeah, this was already done, so I guess we could just skip this. This was already done. I know the password has been put in within the rules, so yeah, that's a skip. Some of these topics are actually, we're not that bad this time. Only about a month old, so yeah, that one's solved. Outstanding. Okay, next topic is from Greenie. With the number of big streamers playing on the server and also the number of community members streaming Doug, I would like to have a conversation in order to raise awareness of the issue of metagaming information seen on streams. Hold on, I just want to look at announcements because I'm pretty sure. I feel like I remembered seeing something in announcements getting put in there about stream sniping, or metagaming, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I would also like to talk about watching streams while waiting in queue, because it seems like a lot of people do it, and at what point in queue should you stop watching other things? I'm fairly certain there are people who watch streams all the way up until they load into the game. I know it would be hard to police, but I think it might be helpful to discuss this, hopefully with guidance from staff, and agree on a set standard to follow so the community is all on the same page, or at least remind people that they need to let time pass between when they watch a stream and when they get in-game. Pretty lengthy, but all comes from the same sort of idea, same issue. Many people streaming Doug, people watch streams while they're in queue, and as a result of that, it can lead to some people that have just came out of a stream getting in game and knowing a bunch of stuff that they probably shouldn't. So, does anyone have any thoughts about this? I'm also... Oh, go ahead, Highlander.
Yeah, so I mean, I've actively dealt with this as the streamer, right? So I'm finding it extremely difficult to police who's watching my channel. And there is a lot of people that I've had to unfortunately ban because they are just literally sitting telling me they're sitting watching while they're in queue and they're like, oh, I need to leave, I'm one in queue now, which is exactly as this says. Like, it does happen. There's no real combatant to it, I assume, because you can't afford to keep a staff member on your channel at all times just so they can watch the player list, right? I find it's people that aren't members that are the massive problem. But yeah, it's just going to be part of the territory, unfortunately.
Go ahead, Monk.
Hello, guys. I'm one of the people that watches Highlander's stream, and it's very entertaining. And I've obviously learned a lot of stuff that my character doesn't know, and it's my own personal integrity that means that I would never let that affect what my character's doing in game. So if you can obviously catch people stream sniping, that's different. But you're going to have to, there's a certain amount of it. You just have to let people trust them and that they have integrity. Most people understand the difference between in character and out of character information and can deal with that.
Solus is next. If you're done with your point, Monk.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks.
All right.
I'd like to touch on the staff did have a conversation about this in part, but we didn't necessarily come to a set agreement. We kind of fell back on how the rule is currently. There isn't, obviously, when you sit down to get into the queue for the game, it could be 30 minutes anywhere to 2 hours. And you get 10 hours in the game before the restart happens. We all have experienced that. So we've struggled to come up with a set time. We can't tell you that once you're exiting queue, you can't watch the stream or you need to get out of the stream at some point. But the reality is, if you are still in the stream when your game ticks from one in queue to now playing, now active on the server, you are now breaking the rule. And we are not going to look at, oops, I was in queue and wasn't paying attention. I was watching the stream and not. That simply will not be accepted as an excuse community members know that they need not to be in both. Going forward with that, if there's any examples that are egregious, that's exactly how that will be set. Say nobody's going to be given kind of extended leeway on that. Looking at streamers like that are maybe bigger parts of the Doug community, like Monk or like Highlander, Lord have mercy. When they communicate or cooperate with staff, that can actually go a very long way. Ultimately, you can't control who's sitting in your channel, and you can't necessarily engage with every single user that says something off, like I'm next in queue, I'm right there, I'm ready, or even outright admitting to being in the server while they're in your stream. You can take a timestamp of that. Just look down at your clock, your Windows clock, put something in Notepad, this user, this time. Later on, or in a ticket, or even just a DM to a staff member, we can confirm that that user's account was logged into the server at that timestamp. We can determine if they've been in the server for 20 minutes watching your stream playing the game, or if they poofed into the server for a minute and a half before they told you they were leaving the stream. It's can't be a one-to-one. We can't respond to every streamer that wants to give us information like that, but we do appreciate it all, and action will be taken on that. But ultimately, with Greenie here, I feel like he might have a bigger point about just metagaming, but that is going to be massive as well. Do not watch a stream and then get inspired to play DayZ and immediately try to dive into whatever activity you were just watching on stream. Do not automatically be aware of what you've seen. Use the same guidelines with reading a Reddit story, so on and so forth.
Big Dave, you're next up.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if it was whitelist members doing this, because it's the same as kind of like saying shit in Discord at the same time as it's happening, right? And everyone knows that's against the rules and shouldn't be happening anyway. Like, and I feel bad for the streamers because difficult to police, difficult to manage. Feel bad for the staff as well. And I mean, I've experienced also things where,
Yep.
I don't know, it feels like people are meddling, but give them benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Like sometimes it feels weird, you know. I mean, no one's like come to me if I've appeared in someone's stream that I'm aware of, talk to me specifically about things that have happened or whatever. But it's like small things, and it does sit in the back of your mind. But I really feel for you guys. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything that maybe the community could do that could help, like I don't know, if there was like a kind of like standardized message that we could repeatedly post in the Discord to make non-whitelist members a bit more aware of this kind of shit. I don't know. Maybe that would help. I'm finished.
Ed is next.
I would just kind of take maybe the other side of the coin. The Fireflies have in streams been accused of like metagaming multiple times when we've found out information in game. I would just there's so many people in Doug telling so many people so many things. Like I would encourage streamers and just the people in general to trust that it's happening. Like until you can be proven otherwise, trust that it's working correctly, because it's, you know, to spend hours doing an investigation in game to find out information and then to like see in multiple streams that, you know, there's no way they could have figured it out and they're clearly metagaming is disheartening to read when you find it out in game and then kind of watch the stream after it ended to see the other perspective.
Poopy is next.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that a little bit is just, you know, how many times people come up and be like, oh, I know you from YouTube. And I'm sure Highlander sees this. And it's like, I've actually took a guy in a run the other day and I was like, how do you know me in this group? And he was like, oh, and I found out in my head. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I was like, and then I like kind of talked to him out of character about how that's not okay and trying to teach him, since he's just in like, some of these new people are just, you know, they're just stupid. They don't pay attention to any of these things. So I think talking to them also and trying to explain those things, I think is important too. And if they respond well to it, good. If they don't, then just kill them and then move on, I guess.
Yeah, I was also gonna echo Poopy's point as well, and also kind of Ed's point as well, because well, it was kind of because we ended up receiving information, this was a few months ago, from an informant that told us, oh, such and such is going to attack you at such and such time, and it ended up being true, but then it turned out that that information was the person that got the information, I think, had gotten it through like metagaming means, and it was quite a shitty situation, of course, for both sides, because we had ended up like getting that information and then like obviously acting upon it, but then we had no idea, no way of knowing that it was like tainted information, I guess you could say. So always be diligent with where you get your information from, I suppose, especially big info like that. So I guess once something has been told to you, it's not quite as easy to erase it from your mind, but that is what we do over here. Anyway, anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic? Because if not, then we can move on to the next one. I've already got notes made from what Solus had said earlier. Okay, so we have the next topic is from Billy of the RA. Once again, just making sure they've not showed up. Seemingly not.
He mentioned he wouldn't be able to make it.
Fair. There are some bases we've come across that are absolutely gigantic and look completely unnecessary for the size of said persons living there, especially when another base of similar size is less than 100 meters away. It's causing FPS issues. Maybe a PSA or even community meeting suggestion. But once again, I'm asking if people can think of the community when deciding to build a town inside a town. Have other people been experiencing this as well? Many big bases in close proximity hitting your performance? Really sounds like a tale as old as time as far as Doug's concerned. But I'm just curious of what people's thoughts are on this. And of course, not to hold the gun to Solus's head again, but of course, staff's perspective is always welcome.
I can say I've been around a few probably large-sized compounds, but I don't know the history. Right, I've only been here for like a few months, but I've not experienced performance degradation. That I have like a fucking massive PC, so I couldn't say I have the same problem that Tommy or Billy does. But...
Right. T is next in queue.
On the topic of the big bases, there are definitely certain ones on the map. I don't know if I should necessarily say who or where in here, if that's allowed. Or do you mind on that, or should I probably hold back?
If there's particular regions of the map, yeah, that you're having performance issues in, then like go ahead.
The biggest ones that I've seen are the groups up near Star Yard. It's been insane. I go through that. I usually get, I lock myself at 60 FPS. But when I go through that area, I'll drop down to maybe 40, 45. And it's a noticeable difference. Because I've seen some massive groups living in these tiny bases, but there's some of those bigger groups, or those like tiny groups, they've got these huge bases up there. I don't know if it's like, if we could like limit the wall. I mean, I know you can't limit the amount of stuff you build based on the size of a group, because that would just encourage letting anybody and everybody into a group. I'm not sure how we could combat that though. So if you understand where I'm coming through with that, if we could set maybe I don't want to put a limitation on the amount of storage people could have, but I think that might, help out a little bit.
I will say that Vale in the chat did say that that group has already been warned about their base being a performance issue. But I see if you're done with your, I don't want to interrupt or anything, but I don't know if you're done with your point.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay.
Okay,
I'd like to mention that
Go ahead.
ultimately, for the same reason you were hesitant to mention like an area on the map, this is the place where everyone should feel comfortable bringing that up outright, so we can kind of deal with how to better express ourselves to each other, like as time goes on or more and more. But I do want to make it clear it's not just one group in that area. Say it's a few groups that have started together and split apart, and it has created a few mini settlements that are a little too close to that effect. And Vale is absolutely correct. They've received a bit of attention to make sure that it gets addressed.
Right. Smooth is next in queue.
Yeah. So I'm from the brokers. We are one of the groups which were addressed by the admins. And I'm by no means, I'm relatively fresh DayZ player in general and also on Duck. So basically to give you a bit of my thought process, only we saw like a couple of other bases and started to build. We were more people in the beginning, but some people also left. And when we were told that it's causing performance issues, we were gladly to cooperate with the admins to downscale. But I'm by no means an expert, so I have not really an idea if it's like the shelters and the items in it. Is it the walls? Is it the crates? So what's really causing the issue? Because when we saw different places on the map, they were also a problem. But then we were told, okay, you have a lot of groups around you, a lot of people, a lot of individuals with buildings, which is apparently causing the biggest lack of performance issue. And I think everyone in Staria by now downscaled, and I hope this is helping. But I can tell we have like one citizen who's basically playing on a potato PC, and he has like the issues. He has the same performance everywhere. So, and I have steady 60 FPS everywhere. So yeah, that was a bit confusing for us. But I hope that with reducing all the people in Staria did, and we also dismantled some bases from people where we know they don't play anymore. So I hope this helps.
Go ahead, Highlander.
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, and admins can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think once you're around an area for a certain amount of time, you basically have that cached, so you don't have the performance issues others do. So although Yar is like, or was massive, I personally never had any performance issues around it. I was a bit concerned that it would affect others, obviously, and obviously your storage, everything like that has to be taken into account as well. I don't think it's the only area. There is other bases. I mean, to be honest, 506 base has been terrible for me for years. It's probably one of the only places on the map that I get issues. But I mean, as admin said, as long as they're aware of it, then there's no further issues.
I'd like to point out, as Vale said, it is everything being responsible. It's a straight asset count, number of shelters, number of walls, gates, watchtowers. Each watchtower counts as a number of walls or gates. Obviously, it's got all those parts on it. But one of the bigger issues that you've seen is what you're keeping in your storage. It's a bit disparaging, but there was a running joke on Doug for some time of players keeping something that's just unnecessary to the gameplay cycle, whether it's glow sticks or feathers, just amassing in numbers that are completely unreasonable. The reality is somebody with a crate and 2 guns in it is not going to cause the same gameplay impact as somebody with a crate with 50 pens in it. We do have to make sure players are controlling themselves when it comes to even the most inconsequential things. ORCC as a base, for an example, is large. It's definitely not on the smaller side, and it's ultimately just a set of store shelves with the larger square around it. We don't keep a lot of individual things, barring glow sticks a wipe ago. We were the guilty party there. But if you keep in mind everything that you're keeping around your, especially cassettes, Dave, like make sure you have one of each. Like we ourselves are guilty of that. It can occur where you end up with 150 of different same ones, different conditions you don't need. Definitely need to keep an eye on it. And the reality is any one player causing that direct issue when it comes to different people entering the area? And the answer is no. But if we get this as something that everyone's paying attention to, all 90 players, that when they're in an area, pay close attention to get rid of your extra pens if you don't need it. Don't carry 3 stacks of feathers. You don't store them away. Burn them if you don't need them instead of dropping them in somebody's shelter and moving on. Say it's a mindset that once we kind of get along with the RP side and only holding what we need to foster the RP and to foster the gameplay, that we will benefit as a community.
Right. Do we have anything further to speak on this?
No, not for persistence.
Right. If we are done with this topic, then we can move on to the next and our last one. Right. Checking that off. Okay, last one is from Matt. Discussion and explanation as to why all CCE reps are not voting. If it's because of inactivity, why are groups not changing CCE reps to active players? If it's because they do not want to participate, why are they designated reps? Obviously, this question is quite directed at specific members within the community. For anyone that's unfamiliar, CCE is our community-controlled environment. A CCE rep is someone that is able to vote on decisions that are happening in the CCE Discord channels. Oh, Poopy, you're getting called out. Shocking behavior. I feel like this is a... Go ahead, Highlander.
It is mainly to Solus, because I know you were dealing with my issue. Was that ever resolved? Because obviously I filled it out, but then it was like I didn't. Does that make sense?
The best answer I have there is ultimately it wasn't in place, and I could have made different decisions to open it back up to allow you to get a vote in, kind of based off of kind of your insistence that it done it. In no way would I even say like you maybe didn't submit it or something like that, but out of 87 possible or 87 or 60 plus inputs, it's entirely possible something got lost in how it works there. So we double checked and it wasn't in the list. The best answer going forward, I would say, for anyone who is becoming a CCE rep or going to input their vote, on the Google thread itself, when we go to enter our responses, there is an option to make sure it emails you back your responses. And if I hear from anyone in the community who says, hey, I got my vote in, and for whatever reason it doesn't count, I'm going to make a point going forward. So it's not a blame game or not pointing out people or like putting the fire under anyone, but you will know if for whatever reason you didn't participate, and I'll shout it out to you. And you'll say, hey, but I did. And then you can just simply share the response form that Google emailed you. And then I can add those actually to the vote total as well to avoid that issue there. I'm sorry, Highlander. It ended up being not like it didn't
No, you're good,
participate
man.
with
You're
that.
good. Yeah, that was all I kind of wanted to say.
We have to answer your question as well, Dave. Yeah, you're free to suggest another topic when we get done with this one. I think just make sure no one else has anything to say on this one. But I guess we can just treat that statement as a PSA of if you're going to be a CCE rep, fucking vote. If you don't want to be a CCE rep, then
is it just because they didn't get the message, or what?
It's... Well, I think I can't obviously speak for all of the however many CCE reps we have right now, but there's probably a multitude of reasons. And I think the point that they're making is if people are repeatedly like if a particular CCE rep is not voting in numerous different votes, then they should think about why they're still a CCE rep and consider replacing them with another person in their group that's able to fulfill it.
I've got something to say. So I've been told that I am now a CC rep by the group that I'm in, but I didn't ask for it. But I guess that's something to take up with the person that told me I'm a CC rep. Like they probably should have asked me, "Do you want to be one?" I don't know.
That's a fair point.
Did you have a question about that directly, or was that what you were saying? As somebody essentially made you into a rep?
Yeah. So Sarge just kind of went, by the way, you're now a CC rep.
We pushed members of the community that have that are in the role of making sure they have 5 reps per group to try to be more liberal with giving it out to people. And the reality is, once maybe you learn more about it, it's an easier responsibility. Say it is something to look out for each. Right now, it's been every couple months, but I want to push for it to be monthly, the votes. It is your choice in the end. You can end up telling him no, and he can undo that on the roster, or I will uncheck it. But he sees it as rewarding you for your time with the Merry Men and for what you've done in game. And he may have been a bit too rash pushing it on you like that, but that is the point.
like I'm not disagreeing with it or anything. I'm just kind of saying like it would have been nicer to kind of say. I did read a bit about it on the Reddit, but it would have been nicer for him to kind of go over it with me and be like, "This is what it means," just to make sure I understood. Yeah.
I wanted to mention, say with you mentioning that, Dave, it's actually a good point there. We wanted all groups to have 5 people in each, or every group has the ability to have 5, and that's in order to maximize how many people are participating. That's why we push them to actually assign them out the way we have. We have 20 groups that participated in the last vote, and not all of them had 5 people assigned. If they did, we would have had 100 eligible voters, but instead only 87 people were able to cast a vote, and of that, only 64 did. So about 23 people didn't get time or didn't come back to the form to actually fill it out, or a mistake had happened with the way Google calculated it. Say overall what that means, I've seen it 100 times. Either somebody has muted notifications in Discord or something like that. The vote period takes place over 7 days, and I tried to at people once at the start, once in the middle, and once near the end. If notifications were muted because they're not used to the process happening as expeditiously as it has before, or if they bookmarked it, like I will return to this, and unfortunately didn't with how busy they've been with work or other stuff in game, it's completely understandable. So I don't want anyone to address each other as more specifically, just don't say maybe it's a failing of people outright. Just do what you can. If you're going to comment on it, do what you can to encourage or remind people that they have that role and that it's time to get that vote in. The 5 reps attached to each group only need to participate when there's more fanfare. There's a Reddit post, and there'll be the group and faction thread will light up, and they'll know to distribute that to you voters. So you shouldn't worry about missing it outright. Say anybody who's newly a CCE rep, there will be ways for you to see that when the time comes.
All right.
That's all to address the CCE.
Well, Dave, was that thing you'd said there your topic, or did you have another thing you wanted to add?
No.
Right.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
I've been here a while. I've experienced some really awesome kind of encounters in RP situations, and I understand it's an organic RP server, RP not enforced, do what you want kind of thing. However, there have been some instances where I feel there are players that want to engage in RP, but kind of do it in like a bit of a BM way, or like don't respect the other side of the person. And maybe they're new to it, that's fine. But I would ask everyone here as like members of the community that if they kind of see that happen, to kind of just reach out to them and like say, yo, you could have done this a slightly different way and it would have been more interesting, or like had a better outcome, or it wouldn't have, it would have been a better experience for the person on the other end of it, or that kind of thing. Because it concerns me when I've had things like that happen to me in the past, where I felt like someone just kind of like, I was engaging in roleplay and they were, and then they just kind of shit on me. And it's like, well, why did you do that? It doesn't make sense. Like what you've done there in terms of RP doesn't make sense. And you're still trying to engage with it. And you kind of have to forget about it completely because it doesn't make sense. And it just feels a bit shitty in general. And then like you feel like you don't want to engage with that individual specifically, or like, in the future or whatever, like it's complicated.
True, yeah. So would you say it's basically kind of like almost like people, I guess, power gaming the RP?
I've seen that where I guess like self-importance of someone else feels that their story might be more important. Like lots of people, it's understandable that everyone is the main character in their own story, right? Because your perception is your reality. But just I would ask people to just think a bit more about other people when they play the game, because it isn't just them. I think is what I'm trying to say.
You're being asked as well. When you say like, do you mean like they shot you, or like another?
Yeah, so
another...
I've
oh yeah.
witnessed like executions in the game, right? Like where someone will be like tied up and then they'll be executed, but it wouldn't be intended to be like a permadeath, right? And it doesn't make sense for them to acknowledge that in their story, because you can't, right? Like, yeah, you could say I got sent to the hospital or whatever, but it's like really like flaky, and I don't like that kind of shit. So it's difficult to kind of, I don't know, include that in your story. I would say.
So you mean like encourage people to not have every interaction or every hostile interaction end with a bullet through the other person's head? Like, be willing to let people walk away if it's befitting of the situation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or like, don't just like full out raid someone because you've got like conflict. Like maybe like start a bit more like back and forth with like notes and stuff first, rather than just going straight into the I'm gonna raid this. I'm just gonna destroy your base because whatever. I don't know, stuff like that. I guess as well.
I've always been a firm believer that an interaction will be much more profound if you're able to walk away from it. Because I came from Doug from like this sort of hyper modded 10x loot, like trader 500k start bullshit servers, where obviously if you meet someone in the wild, it's just everyone opens fire. And I remember one of the first major interactions I had when I came to Dog was getting found in Berezino by Dam, surrounded in the house, and I thought it was going to turn into a shooting gallery, but they talked us down, we all put down our guns, they basically very menacingly shook us down, took some of our food, and then were like, you're going to go that way, and you're going to fuck off, and we did not stop running until we reached, like, the second town over, and that was the interaction that sold me on Dog. If they had just been like, okay, lower your weapons, and we just came in and they just like gunned us all down, then obviously that would have left quite the sour taste in our mouths.
Yeah, and I suppose I've been lucky in that I've, when I first came to Doug, I got in a lot of arguments in Discord about AOS, as everyone seems to, but yeah, like it's been the other interactions that have kept me around and kept me coming back, like you said. Yeah, as I'm sure you're all aware.
That should be a big thing. To do not railroad people into stories that you're trying to write. So you try to be organic with what's occurred in game and write based off of that. When you're talking about like escalating conflicts, I would want to rely on an anecdote that it should be easier maybe for everyone to understand. As a kid, when you're watching professional wrestling, you see them performing their finishers on each other and just beating the hell out of each other, and then the kid's like, why didn't he do this, or well, he could have beat him easily if he did that. And they need to have someone to fight next week. It's all a show. It's all a game. They're friends with each other behind the scenes. They're not actually enemies. It's foils and it's good guys, and it's all a big narrative. And we're achieving something very similar to that on Doug. So you should see a fellow community member, even if you are in game with them, in the ring with them, and you're beating your chest and miming cutting your throat and killing people. Afterwards, or when you're not playing the game anymore or writing stories and engaging with that community member OOC to determine what to write, or if that's how you do it, you need to take the community at heart. That's the idea. And it'll always fall back to that. Yes, Teddy.
It's a tale as old as time. Consider the enjoyment of other players. I don't know if is that verbatim written in the rules? I don't know if it is. Obviously, we have the don't be a jerk rule, but I don't think that says that in that exact wording.
It's keep the community at heart, I believe is how it's worded. Or keep the community at heart in every interaction.
and to be willing to lose. I mean, even you don't even have to lose to make it look good. Like, even as Dave had said, you don't need to end every interaction by just executing people. You can just be like, okay, we're done with you, fuck off, and then just let them like hobble away back to wherever they came from. The most gentle raider. We do tend to not go too overboard. But yes, it's definitely possible to raid, even if you are driven to raid someone. Raid them nicely. I know that sounds very weird to say, but be considerate. Don't be a dick. Basically, that's how you do it. Hopefully. Anyone else have anything to say on this topic, though? Right. Well, do people have any other topics they'd like to bring up? Because obviously this meeting was a pretty short one, but if we're just done, then we're done, I guess. Right. Well, I guess finally I'll move the floor over. I don't know if I know you've talked quite a fucking lot, Solus, but if staff has any sort of statement, as they sometimes do at the end of these meetings, that they want to make to the players, or just a general announcement or something, then feel free. But if you've got nothing and you feel like you've covered it, then fair.
To everyone who might be a CCE rep or has recently been told to keep an eye out for it, or knows that their group needs an additional 1 or 2 reps, please just keep an eye on the process and keep an eye out, because within the next 3 or 4 days here, we should be pushing for May another CCE vote, a stage 2 vote, which is 5 members from each group participate. It's not the one-off votes that occur over time in the discussions channel. It's the final vote for those topics.
Duly noted. And yes, I do have notes on all of the discussions and stuff that I'm going to be putting in Doug Share content and possibly also in events. I'm just going to be uploading the video now, and I have like really fast fucking gigabit internet now, so it'll be rapid. Should be up in the next like 5 minutes, or 5 minutes whenever I start uploading it. But yeah, I think that might be us done. I think you are all dismissed now. And yeah, pretty quick and easy meeting. Went by really fast. 47 minutes is it by my mark, but obviously I did start the recording a couple minutes after the hour. So be responsible, vote in CCE things, and consider the enjoyment of other players. I'm gonna go upload this thing now and post my notes. See ya.
Have a incredible Doug Sunday.
What happened to Doug? I thought it was Doug Friday, not Doug Sunday. Is every day a Doug day?
As long as it's not a fucking ORCC day.
Understandable. See ya.
Peace out.
Oh, I should probably put my push to talk back on so I don't jump scare everyone next time I'm in here. Yeet.